Hello, I'm Katie from HB Publishing House, and we are here today on this wonderful sunny morning in the UK and in America. And we are joined by the fantastic audio narrator, Carey Bibb. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
And the equally fantastic and amazing author, Nadine Holland.
Good morning.
Morning. And this is the first time you have both met.
Yes.
Officially.
Yes, we've chatted a bit, but this is the first time that we've met face to face.
Yes. So for those who don't know, Nadine has wrote a fantastic book called Kiko and the Coralline Crest, and Carey is the one that audio narrated it amazingly, and that is what we're here to talk about today. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we'll start off with you, Nadine, if that's okay. So how are you feeling? Because your book came out last week. I want to say, oh my gosh, the weeks are blending into each other, and now I'm very sad.
I think it was a couple of weeks ago now, but yeah. It's been really exciting. It's been really exciting. Obviously, it's my first book, so everything has been new and shiny, and kind of getting a handle on the marketing and publicity side and talking about my book a lot. It's been weird because I don't really like the spotlight normally, so it's kind of it's been a bit of getting used to, but I've really enjoyed the process, and it's been helped along a lot by you and Sarah, who've been super supportive, and I really appreciate that and everything you've done. But yeah, it's been really nice just to talk about the book and to share the inspiration for it. And
so what was the inspiration for it? For those who don't know.
So my mum, when I was a kid, suffered with agoraphobia, which is like fear of being outside and in big spaces. And she also had panic attacks and really big anxiety issues. But she still had these goals that she wanted to achieve. And I kind of remember thinking as a kid, I don't really understand what she's going through. So having talked to her about it as an adult, she kind of described the physical symptoms and everything else, and how even though she had this immense anxiety, she still had things she wanted to achieve in her life. And she kind of talked about the steps that she took to try and do that. And so kind of it's supposed to be a little bit of a toolkit for children to be able to put into voice what they're feeling if they're anxious and fearful, and also give them tools for how to cope with that so they can still achieve well in their life.
It's a beautiful explanation, I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you.
Again, how did you feel about it when obviously we sent over the manuscript of Kiko? When you read it, what were your initial thoughts before you obviously audio narrated the awesome book?
I absolutely loved it. So I grew up, both my parents were teachers, and then my mom ended up working in the elementary school library where I also went. And so she always had a big passion for books. She loved reading. She loved reading to me, having me read to her. So reading the book really took me back to my childhood. I don't have any kids of my own, but I am still a teacher. I'm still a middle school teacher. So it's maybe a little bit older than who the book is geared towards, but I think that the message of the book is just so powerful and so lovely and just so well written. And Nadine, you've done such a good job putting something that is maybe a little bit hard for children to understand into a very good bite-sized piece. But I absolutely love the book. I think that it's adorable, and my copy still hasn't come yet, but I can't wait for it to get here. I check every day. I go to the mailbox. I'm like, where is it? Is it here? So I can't wait to get my own copies so that I am able to read it and to share it with my cousins and my nieces and everyone that I think should definitely be able to read it.
Oh, thank you.
Again, a fantastic answer. On this very early morning, because for those of you who don't know, it's only 10 a.m. in the beautiful side of the UK, but across the pond, as one would say, Carey has been an amazing person, and she has got up at 5 a.m. because we did not realize the time zone and the going forward and back an hour on our side. But
I checked.
dedication at its core, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I mean, I am an early morning person. I have to be during the school year, and it helps that I don't get myself out of whack during summer vacation. So, again, as long as I have my coffee, I'm good.
Here it is.
Cheers.
Cheers. So just following on from a question that we had a while back, was what everybody wants to know is, how did you know you wanted to become like an author or an audio narrator? So I'll start with you, Nadine, if that's okay. So what was it that inspired you to start writing? Or, you know, was there something specific that was said, actually, when I grow up and be a big girl, would like to be a writer? Was there anything specific? And I'm sorry about the woofing. My dog has, I don't know, some issues with this house at the moment where she just barks at the randomest noises. So for those of you listening, get random woofs or children screaming because my kids are playing in the next room. I do apologize.
So when I was a kid, I had still have an older sister and a younger brother who are both a lot louder than me. And so they were often arguing, or mum and dad were shouting at them to stop arguing. And so I would kind of retreat into the bedroom and start reading. And I loved books from a very young age. I've always loved books. My granddad really nurtured my love of reading and writing. He used to play Scrabble with me and help me to kind of learn new words. And then my parents, when I was a little bit older, bought me an electric keyboard before the advent of, you know, laptops and things. Because they also wanted to nurture the fact that I loved writing. And I remember when I was in Brownies, I have a story when I was about 8, and I think the brown owl, the leader of the Brownies, sort of took my mum aside one day, and she's like, "This is amazing. This is a brilliant story that she's written. You know, it's well above her kind of age ability sort of thing." And I was like, "Was it really?" Like, I didn't realize that I had any aptitude for it really until then. But then through the years, you know, lots of other teachers have nurtured it, encouraged me to enter poetry competitions, writing competitions and things. And I've kind of always done that through the years. I lost my way a little bit. I went to university, studied fine art, and then became an art teacher. But then started writing blogs when I became a parent and kind of needed a creative outlet. And then once my daughter was a little bit older and we started reading picture books, I realized how much I loved that format and how playful it was, and I loved reading rhyme, and I had a lot of joy in reading picture books with her and seeing her responses. So I thought, oh, maybe I'll have a crack at writing those. But before that, I'd started writing a horror book because I love Stephen King and I've been reading Stephen King for years. And while I was writing it, I just thought, I hate this, it's really horrible, obviously. And so I thought, well, maybe I'll have a go at just writing a kid's book as kind of like, I don't know, a circuit breaker from writing the horror. And that was when I absolutely fell in love with it. And, you know, my first books were probably terrible, but, you know, I persevered. I did loads of courses. I just got really hooked on wanting to know everything about writing picture books and writing in rhyme, which is quite tricky. And so I just kept practicing and practicing and practicing. And then, yeah, here we are today.
That again is a wonderful story. Oh my gosh, like I just feel like, you know, I need a glass of wine already. Just like, it's beautiful, it's beautiful. And do you know, I've just realized as we spoke about this, that we are all teachers.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Makes sense.
Just what can we say, some of the best books come out of teaching. So
yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of unavoidable when you're a teacher, because it's just, you know, you're around children all the time. You pick up so much information from them that you end up gravitating towards doing more things around children, even when you're not teaching them.
Very true, very true. So the same question to you about how you became or wanted to become an audio narrator, or did you just fall into it? You know, what's the background with you?
So I got into audio narrating through acting. So I've always loved acting growing up. I would do all of the middle school, high school musicals. I performed in everything that I could get my hands on. And then after university, I moving abroad. So I worked in Egypt, China, and Japan, and just lost touch with the acting world. I was still teaching, still loving it, still in front of the classroom, but I wasn't able to act there. So then once I moved back in 2019, I was like, okay, well, I want to act again. 2019 leads to 2020, things shut down, and I start thinking, well, maybe voiceover could be a thing. Like that way you don't have to be in person. I can set up my own little recording studio, little vocal booth, see what happens. This is new. My husband and his friend set it up for me last year.
What is it that you're sitting in? What are you sitting in?
It's PVC pipes and then acoustic dampening blankets. So it does its job. It's my own little like corner of my house where I can go and record things, and you can't hear the cats and the dog as much as you would be able to if I was out there.
For sure.
So yeah, so in 2020, I started thinking, well, maybe I could do a voiceover, maybe I could do things like that. I've always been told that I have a good voice. And then I got my first real teaching job in the States and I got busy. And so for a couple of years, forgot about that, lost my way. So August 2022 is where I really started to pick up, started really focusing on acting. So I've been doing a lot of film and TV, but this is my first audiobook that I've ever recorded, and I absolutely loved it. And I have 3 more in the works.
Ooh.
So yay! Thank you.
Are you allowed to talk about them, or is it?
No, not yet. I'm still
Right.
this summer is my recording time, and then after this summer, hopefully in the fall or the winter, I'll be able to talk more about that. But yes,
Watch out for that, people. Check
yes.
Carey out on Instagram, so she will keep you up to date with that. Sure.
Yes. So yeah, this was my first ever audiobook and I absolutely loved it. And once I sent in take 1 and you were like, yeah, Nadine said that it was amazing and perfect. And I was like, wait, but that was take 1. I was like, oh, maybe I can do this.
What I know, I couldn't believe it. So I was like, and see what your feedback was, and you just stepped back. It's perfect. I was like, oh.
Yeah, she absolutely nailed it. Like everything, just everything was absolutely perfect. I couldn't believe it.
Thank you. Yeah, I was looking back through our emails this morning and I was like, oh yeah, it was take 1. It was like 3 days after I was sent the manuscript. I was like, you know what? I have time. I'm gonna go and record it and see what happens. And it helps when I have wonderful words to work off of and when everything flows. I love I've performed in Dr. Seuss plays in the past, and I love that sort of like rhyming scheme, and it makes it, I can understand how it would be harder to write, but acting wise, it makes it easier for me. So thank you.
You would think it would be harder to write, but actually I prefer writing in rhyme. I find prose really tricky, but rhyme just like, it naturally comes out in rhyme for some reason.
Well, perfect. But yeah, it helped having an amazing book, and I just absolutely loved the whole process. So yeah, I am loving this audiobook narration life that I am now leading.
Living your best audio narration life. So if you had a piece of advice, Nadine, for someone who wanted to write a children's book, what would it be?
So first of all, read as many children's books as you can get your hands on, get into libraries. I take out about 25, 26 at a time, like as many as I can on mine and my daughter's cards. And just, you know,
don't tell the library.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all right. I'm with them the amount, it's fine. But yeah, it's just, you know, you've got to be getting a feel for what the industry standard is, and it's very different now than it used to be in the past. So it's really important to read recent texts, because we were all probably aware of the older stuff, but actually there's some fantastic texts recently that have come out, and always the industry is kind of pushing forward and there's new themes coming through, and it's really important to kind of be up to date with that. And you almost do, like, through doing that, you kind of, through a process of osmosis, begin to absorb the kind of voice that is current and what publishing houses are looking for. So then from that, it's kind of about idea generation and just writing down everything that pops into your head. So often I will have a first line or a title, or I'll just have a phrase, and then that's where the story will start, and I'll sit down and I'll brainstorm it, and I'll try and come up with, you know, the solid base of what the story is going to be, trying to divide it into those kind of 12 spreads roughly, and sort of figure out the arc that's going to happen. It doesn't always work that way, and sometimes I don't like to work within that framework. You know, I like it to be more cyclical or more playful or whatever, but it's a good place to start. And then it's just about practicing, just writing, speaking to other writers. If you can, get to, you know, webinars, seminars, courses if you can afford it, and sometimes the courses that are run will also have places for people who can't afford it, which is really good. Places like Write Mentor do fantastic courses, the Golden Egg Academy, and various other places. And it's just, yeah, expose yourself to as much kind of writing as you can. Getting feedback is really important, so get into a crit group. Find other people to get eyes on your work, because you might read it and think, yeah, this is absolutely perfect, there's nothing I would change, and then, you know, you get 5 other people read it and then they all come back with different things about how you could change it. Ooh. And it is really important to get eyes on from somebody else. And something I've also spoken about previously is people with different accents as well. because some people say bath with a hard A and some people say bath, and you know, they rhyme with different things like giraffe and scarf, but not necessarily if you're from the north. So if you've got crit partners from Scotland or the north, if you're a southerner, and from the south if you're, you know, Scottish or northern, then it's actually really useful because they might pick up accent differences that you wouldn't think about.
Very true.
And that's it. It is just practice, 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 and just keep going and keep pushing. One of the biggest things I think that will indicate your success or failure in this industry is whether or not you're going to give up after you get knocked back.
It's true.
Like
and
so
how
many-
many times did you get knocked back before you were accepted? Well,
So many.
accepted. Do you know when you say accepted? That sounds terrible. No, you're not
Yes.
good enough. But I mean, was it quite a lot?
Oh yeah, loads and loads and loads. I mean, I God, when I was looking for an agent, must have had 50, 60 rejections by the time I got an agent.
And there it is, 50 to 60 attempts, and you didn't give up, because some people get to about 5 or 10 and go, I can't do this.
Yeah, and it is hard. You have to really steel yourself against the rejection, but after a while it's just like, oh well, never mind, move on.
And
you
a
know,
bottle of wine.
maybe not every time, but
Well,
yeah,
maybe not, because that would turn into something else.
but you do find coping mechanisms, and it's really good as well if you have a crit family, you know, that you can share those successes, those highs and lows with them. That's really, really nice.
Yeah. What about you, Mrs. Bibb, that you are now?
Yeah, so for getting into acting or voiceover work, part of it is very similar to what Nadine was saying. You have to just practice. So read books, but read them out loud. So practice different voices, different accents, see what you can do, see what you can put out. So I love reading as well. I didn't mention that earlier, but I've always been a reader from when I was younger. So it helps that now whenever I read my book on my Kindle, I just try to read it out loud, and my husband might think that
I was
I'm a
going to
little
say,
nutty,
did you
but
love that?
it's okay. I go to bed much earlier than he does, so I can just be in bed on my Kindle and just be like, blah, 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 and only my dog will judge me.
No judgment then. No, never.
Yeah, so practice is definitely half of it, but then the other half is making sure that you have adequate equipment, because you can be the best, you can have the best voice in the world, but if you don't have the equipment, you're gonna have to go out, you're gonna have to rent recording studios, which gets pricey. So you don't need great equipment, but make sure that you have a decent computer, make sure that you have a decent microphone, especially that you have somewhere in your house where you can be relatively quiet, where it's relatively noise dampening, that you don't live next to train tracks or somewhere that's just going to be causing constant noise. So half of it is something that you can control, that you can work on, and the other half you need to just make sure that your equipment is also supporting you as much as you're supporting your work. But yeah, as an actor, a voice actor, the rejection thing, so many rejections, so much. So
I
you
got to
just have
ask, how many for you though? Was it in the 50s and 60s?
I mean, you rejected me the first time. I actually
It's
had
very
auditioned
true.
for a different book, and you were like, "Well, not for this one, but for
That's true, but
this
from
other
that
book."
rejection, because this was for one of our novels that then slid into Kiko. But however, we have something in the pipeworks, haven't we, lined up for next year? Hopefully, I'm thinking, quote unquote, because remember we spoke about it, and I said there is another one next year coming out that we'd like you to ordinate for. Can you remember this, or have I dragged this?
No. You definitely said it. I didn't want to mention. I was like, maybe she's forgotten. I don't know.
No, I haven't forgotten. No, I have not forgotten. That manuscript is coming to you as a Christmas present.
Then I mean, there's a lot of rejection, but even so, like from rejection can come other amazing opportunities. And as an actor, it's weird because it might not be you. It might just be that someone was a little bit better, or someone had a different accent, or someone in the like film and TV world, someone had a slightly different haircut or different like hair color. So there's so many different variables. But I mean, you helped me find this amazing book because of that. So I'm so happy that I put myself out there and I auditioned and I sent in that initial application because I was able to be a part of this, and it's so rewarding and amazing, and I can't wait to get my book.
So we have published Kiko, the beautiful children's storybook, and the audiobook is out now. Let's have a chat about that for those who are going to listen to it or have listened to it. So when you first listened to it, Nadine, what were your initial thoughts? Apart from perfect, because obviously That's what you came back and said. It is a perfect audiobook, so please go and download it on Audible. I always want to say Apple iTunes. Audible.
Well, yeah. So when you sent through these samples, as soon as I heard Carey's voice, I was like, yeah, this is the one, because I wanted something really soft and lilting and something really soothing.
Well, you have that voice.
But she also she's got such a beautiful expressionate voice as well. It's just lovely, and it really fitted the tone of the book perfectly. Carey's voice has got like a more of a sophistication to it, and I think that's why I wanted to go for. And I don't know if you've heard of ASMR. So ASMR is a huge trend. It's been on YouTube for years and years and years. And it's kind of people who talk in these really soft or whispery voices. And it kind of creates a little tingly sensation in your head.
Yes, I do know this.
Yeah, so I've had that since I was a kid, and I didn't know what it was until about 15 years ago. People started making videos and calling it ASMR, which stands for Autonomous Sensory Meridian Response, which somebody kind of just came up with. And so I started watching videos on YouTube of ASMR artists who would talk softly or read or something, and it's just very soothing, very relaxing. And so I'd wind down listening to them. And when I heard Carey's voice, it's like, God, she's got such a beautiful ASMR voice. And so like immediately I said, yes, that's the one I want for my book. It's perfect.
Oh, well, that is lovely. And for those who have listened to it, which I have a lot, because I've edited it, it is beautiful, and you definitely have to download it, because it's just one of those nice, calm, like say, beautiful voices that you can listen to with your kids in the car, driving to wherever you're going, and it's just, they're gonna be just like, oh, beautiful story. And maybe they'll nap at the end, so you know what can we say, you know, this, if it's the ASMR, that's the sort of soothing voice. Oh my gosh, you need to do meditation or one of those
oh god, yeah, I would definitely
when Nadine was talking, it was funny. One of my goals is to definitely do like voice acting for one of the like sleep apps or something, because I use the sleep apps all the time. So I'm like, okay, if I can get that gig, like if I can get in that world, like that's the dream.
That's the one. There you go. So anybody who needs someone for a relaxation sleeping app voice, Carey is your girl. She is the person that you need to contact, because you will see why. Go listen to the audiobook. You'll see why. You're welcome. So just talking about the audiobook and the book itself, so what would you say was your favorite part of the book? I'll go with Carey if you would like to go first.
Ooh. I really like the end, because it's not necessarily a happy ending, because like she just keeps getting knocked out and like just keeps getting like thrown back to her like original world, but she knows that she can do it. So at the end, like there's that quiet confidence where like, yes, I can go I can go to the crest, like I can do it. So you know that in the future, like if there's sequels, if there's Kiko and the Coralline Crest part 2, part 3, part 10, she just keeps going to new places. Like you know that she, like, it's gonna be hard for her, but you know that she can do it, even if it's not gonna be the easiest thing in the world. So I love the ending.
Oh, I like that, yeah, because you know sometimes when it is, and they lived happily ever after. I mean, it's beautiful to have happily ever after, but realistically, it's not always like that, is it? So it's like, yes, happily ever after in this moment, but let's we gotta cross the Coralline Crest again. So
right. It's still going to be challenging, but it's possible. Right. And that's something that everyone has to, like, we all have to do challenging things. We all have to stand in front of people and make speeches, or we all have to go somewhere that we might not want to and do something challenging. But if we know that we can do it, it's going to be a little bit easier.
I like that. What about you, Nadine? What do you think your favorite part of the book is?
I think so at the beginning she kind of talks about what she wants to do and why she hasn't been able to do it because of that early trauma. But I think it's when she sees all these new schools of fish at the Coralline Crest and everything's really exciting, and she just decides to take the step. Like, decides that's it, I'm going to go for it now, this is the time, I'm not going to miss any more. And I think that's just the most important part of the journey, is making that first step and deciding, yes, actually I'm going to embark on this journey. I know it's going to be difficult, but the reward at the end will be worth it. And I think, you know, for anybody who is aiming for their goals or who wants to start and try to achieve something, just taking that first step is really brave, because not everybody can do that, not everybody does that, but you're not going to reach what you want unless you do. So I think just making that decision, committing to it, that's probably for me.
I think that perseverance and that resilience is important to be taught within schools, within life. You know, it's just about, yes, you are going to get knocked back down. Oh no, I feel like Chumbawamba. I was going to say get knocked back down, but you get up again. I was like, oh no, this is some really crazy Chumbawamba.
It's fine. No, I mean, it's you know, I'm from the Chumbawamba era, so yeah, I mean, it's right. It's, you know, she does get knocked down and she does keep getting back up, you know.
That's it. We're rocking it out. Someone just said, I get knocked down. Yeah. Don't think, because it'll make it rain, although it is scheduled to rain anyway, so that wasn't me. Last question. What is next? What is in the pipeline for you? So I'll start with you, Nadine, if that's okay.
Sure. So next month in August, I've got a middle grade book coming out with Tiny Tree called Hallie and the Broken Ghost. And it's about a girl who's moved house yet again because her mum renovates houses, and she's a paranormal enthusiast. She's not particularly happy about moving again, leaving all her friends behind. And she meets a ghost in the house who she befriends. The ghost has an issue because of an early trauma where his original sort of haunting place was burned down. And he ended up in the house. He doesn't know why. And every time he tries to scare somebody, he kind of farts. So it means he can't, he's broken. And he can't scare anybody, and he kind of like, what's the use of being a ghost? So and then while she's trying to help him, so she kind of comes up with a training plan to help him be able to scare people again. This creepy archaeologist comes around the house trying to help mum with the survey, this kind of thing. But he's definitely up to something, so they kind of start sleuthing to figure out what he's up to. And there's something buried in the cellar of the house that he knows about, they don't. And he has some nefarious plans to get to it, which involve Hallie and Jerry, who's the ghost, trying to foil him and save the house.
Wow.
Yeah, that's that one.
Amazing. Very
exciting. Different. It was good to write in a different genre. Obviously middle grade's got a lot longer, but yeah, I have enjoyed that. And then I've got another as yet unannounced picture book coming out early next year. Ooh. Which I can't really talk about yet.
That's fine. We like secrets. What about you?
So I have those 3 audiobooks that I'm going to be working on at various stages during the summer. Yes, can't talk too much about that yet. But I'm always doing new things. I'm always looking out on Backstage, where I found you. I'm always looking out on different acting websites. But I have actually started a podcast that sort of ASMR, sort of like very zen.
Ooh, tell us about it. Where can people find this?
You can find it on Spotify, or I think it's also on Apple Music or Apple Podcasts. But it's called Carey on Carey, CARRYONCAREY. But it's about my different travel adventures. So in the first section of the podcast, I've been talking about my trip to Antarctica that I went on a year and a half ago. So talking about penguins and talking about seals and all the amazing things that I saw. Yeah, so there are, I think, 8 episodes in that first section, and they're all between 5 and 10 minutes. They're all very short. They're just good things if you need to fall asleep, good things if you need to just chill out, zen, put your kids
I need these
in the
things.
car. Yeah.
Carey on Carey on Spotify. So that's where we need to go to make sure that we can listen to your wonderful voice. But obviously download Kiko first.
Yes. Number 1.
Where can we find you if we need to find more about your wonderful self?
So I'm on X at writes_Nadine, and on Insta at Nadine has to write. I would have liked to have had the same handle, but somebody else has nicked it, unfortunately.
Rude.
And TikTok as well, same as Insta, I think. Nadine has to write, or is it Writes Nadine? I can't remember. But yeah, one of those two.
My name is, luckily, I guess, original. If you just search for Carey Bibb, CareyBibb, you can find me. My students have all stalked me and found my IMDb and all of my information. So I'm on
Find out that you're famous.
I'm on Instagram at Carey Bibb Actress, and that's where I post most of my like acting related things.
Thank you so much for joining me today. Kiko, the Coralline Crest book and audiobook is out now, so please go download, buy, and love these people. And thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you
It's
for
been
having
awesome
us.
to speak to you both.